Do you remember the M&S sandwich debacle that happened?
I remember it looked horrible.
It was, well, they had an LGBT sandwich. I just thought it was hilarious because they basically changed all the letters of the LGBT into like lettuce, guac, bacon, and tomato. And I just remembered that it went off on social media. Everyone was like, "What on earth are you doing? You've completely missed the point." Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome back to another special episode of The Rubber Room, the show where we talk about all things sexy, shiny, and sinful. I'm Kable, and I'm the monster that lives under your bed. Hello.
And I'm Romeo, and tin tin tin.
Tin tin tin?
Tin tin tin.
What's tin tin tin?
That is a Yorkshireism. That means it isn't in the tin.
Okay.
Tin tin tin.
See, that's what explains why I didn't get it, because I'm from the south. So I'm still learning. I learned in my first year of uni, I learned what a ginnel was.
Snicket.
Yeah. Well, it was an alleyway, isn't it?
So it's a snicket.
And gip was to throw up. Yeah.
I'd say gip is almost throw up.
Okay.
Like when your gag reflex is kicking in.
I've still got a lot to learn, but
we'll get you there.
As always, word of warning, with this podcast we talk about a wide range of kinks, some safer than others. Always make sure when playing with kink to make sure you stay safe, get consent, but most importantly, have fun. Huge shout out to the Eagle Bar. As always, we've been filming with them for the whole of season 2. We filmed with them for season 1. We'll probably film with them for season 3, let's hope. But it's been an amazing experience and really enjoyed working with them on this. Also, we want to give a special shout out to Stretch Latex, who is the sponsor of today's episode. Stretch Latex is an upcoming Manchester-based brand aiming to make rubber more accessible. Getting a full suit is expensive, and sometimes you want to test the water first and see if it's right for you. Stretch Latex has a great range of accessories, harness, jocks, and more to get you started on your kink journey. Not only do they offer a range of exciting and daring designs for those feeling braver, Stretch Latex prides themselves on being open to your ideas to get those creative juices flowing. All products are hand-cut, glued, and shined in Manchester, offering custom sizing and free UK tracked delivery on all orders. Give them a follow on Instagram at Stretch Latex to stay up to date with all the new lines and offers. Plus, use code RUBBERROOM to get 15% off your next order. For today's episode, we wanted to do a little bit of a special exclusive because as this episode is coming out, we're hopefully coming up to Manchester Pride. Manchester Pride is something that I've attended many years, ever since I've come to Manchester. Absolutely love it. But more specifically, what the role of kink is at Manchester Pride, because there has been some discourse, debate over the past few years in particular, just around where kink kind of sits in Pride, not just in Manchester, but everywhere around the world, and whether it really has a place there. So that's what we wanted to discuss today. We want to discuss how people express kink at Pride events, obviously whether it should be part of Pride events, but also just kind of how we sort of weave the line between expressing our kink, which is inherently something that is obviously part of like a sexual community, but also understanding that we need to have a family-friendly view towards these sorts of things too, because obviously there are younger people that attend Pride events.
But before we start, it's time for Know Your Code! This season, we're educating the people on the hanky code and its importance in the kink community. Today's colour is Hunter Green. Hunter Green represents the daddy-boy dynamic. If you wear it on your right side, you may be looking for an authority figure to show you the ropes or just take good care of you. But if you wear it on your left, come to daddy. And that's it for Know Your Code! Now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Romeo, question is, do you think kink should be at Pride?
Yes. End of episode.
That was great. We'll see you next time.
Yes, because it comes down to what is Pride and what Pride is for, or what Pride was for, and Pride is a protest. So it's about people trying to put you in a box and you saying, fuck that, I'm not going into your box. So I think kink is important, and it is important for it to be there. Pups, very playful. Leathermen, fully covered. Rubbermen, mostly fully covered. Getting your ass out, maybe not, on a public street in a pride parade. But again, you know, if you're allowed, do what you need to do. there is a line to walk for family friendly, but then there's also a place saying that this is, Pride is a party, but it's not a party. It's a protest. So you have to be. It's not going to be too sanitized because I don't think it should be.
Yeah. And I think we have to remember where Pride's come from. So just for anyone that isn't aware, Pride started after the 1969 Stonewall riots. This was an attack on a bar in New York called Stonewall Inn. And basically the LGBT community had been experiencing attacks from the police for quite some time in terms of people taking them away to jail and basically preventing them from having these spaces. So they decided to stand up against the police, and this went on for quite a few days, which was great to see that camaraderie of the community come together. But what then happened is the year afterwards, we had our first Pride March, which took place in remembrance of the riots that took place. And since then, Pride has then grown. It's not only been in the US, but obviously expanded around the world. So as you've said, I think it's really important to note that's where it came from. That's its roots. And it's always been about a protest towards a society that has said that the LGBTQIA plus community is not welcome and they don't agree with our values as people. So it's really we've got to ensure that whenever we think about Pride, especially Pride parades, like that's really what the message is that people are sending. As much as I think in recent years, things have turned also into a celebration. There's very much a focus on having a party as well in a lot of these big cities. We can't forget the reason why we're doing it, and it's bringing the community together to show that we exist, to show that we are here, and to show that we need to still continue to see change all around the world.
Well, you've just got to look at the current state of America and how many brands were sponsoring Pride under Obama and Biden, but now under Trump have withdrawn their support from Pride. Like they'll still sell. Like I think maybe it's Target, and don't sue me, Target. But like they have a Pride collection, but they no longer donate money to Pride. It's like, okay, so you are only happy to play this card when it's suitable for you, when it makes sense for you financially, and the minute it stops, you're not going to support these rights. And this comes with the commercialization of Pride and it being a big thing that people want to go and have a good time at, which I'm not against. Well, actually, personally, anyone telling me to have fun makes me want to not have fun. I will not be told.
I'm the same. Anyone telling me what to do, I want to do the complete opposite. My partner the other day, he was like, get out the road, because I was walking in the side of the road, and it just made me want to walk even further into the road. I don't know why my brain works like that.
No, but I've never been to a Pride because where I'm from it's not a small town in Yorkshire, but it's not a big city, so there isn't a local Pride. There's one across the way in North Yorkshire, but I'm kind of like that about it because I've never felt oppressed or repressed. I've always just been able to do what I wanted to do on my own terms, so I've never felt the need to protest or shout, I am here. I've always been happily saying I'm here, So I've never felt the need for Pride, and then viewing it as a party, I'm like, that rankles me, because it shouldn't, to me, it's the protest, it's about claiming what's ours, and I've never needed to use it for that, and but I don't want to go and just have a good time, because that feels insincere to me. That's because I think too much about things.
No, it's fair.
It just goes over and over in my head, and it feels like, so I'm just not going to deal with it because it's too much effort.
Yeah, I personally love walking in the parade. I've done it a few times now because I think for me it's understanding that I have that confidence to be my authentic self, especially dressed in Kink, to be able to walk down the biggest main road we have in Manchester and show my true self. And I know not everybody else can do that. So for me, it's almost like an advocate aspect where I want to make a point so that other people can feel that it's okay. And especially as whilst I think there is a line that we need to be aware of what is acceptable in a public space, and we need to make sure that we're thinking about consensual visualization in that sense of what people are looking at in that space as well. I don't see any issue with me wearing this full suit. This is what I wore to the Pride Parade last year.
Yeah.
And the kids loved it. They love it because it's bright, it's colourful. Like, we're all just there having a great time. I was high-fiving lots of people. And it really frustrates me when someone tries to...
But what do you think of the children?
Yeah, and it's trying to sexualise something where I'm just wearing it because I love being in this. I'm not here in this space trying to create a sexual moment or anything like that. It's very much about expressing who I am, my authentic identity, being very proud of this community that has made me feel welcome, made me feel more myself than I ever have before, and showing people as well that this is something that you may want to explore in future too, because it might make you feel the same way it made me feel.
Yeah, well, there's 2 points to that. So, people don't tend to criticise women wearing tight jumpsuits when they're out and about in the street, just in their daily wear. No one ever says, but what you think of the children. It's a similar kind of form-fitting outfit. So, for that aspect, then it seems to be hypocritical when people are calling it out. And also, like, the things kids are already exposed to, like, for one, comic books, like Wonder Woman is in a skimpy outfit and she carries a rope with she ties bad guys up and forces them to tell the truth. That's kink all over, mate. So they're already seeing that. The superheroes are all in skin tight gear with bulging, impossible muscles. So I just think that there's a hypocrisy. Just because kink, it is rooted in sex and sexuality, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because just because it is that thing doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're going to start shagging on the streets. People tend to get it mixed up. And it's because it's a recently thing that's emerging and people are coming out of, religious suppression and, repression and that kind of thing. So I understand why people struggle with it, but I don't understand why they make that someone else's problem. Yeah. And if you don't want your kids to see that kind of thing, move to the country. Because if you're in a city, you're going to see weird things. You're going to see goth punks. You're going to see cross-dressers. You're going to see all sorts because the city has everything. If you want to live a sheltered life, move somewhere sheltered. Where I live, we don't have pride parades. And we've got a couple of weirdos and people who stand out from the crowd. But I won't wear this in my own town because I don't feel the need to, personally. That's not where I'd wear it. I might wear it in a pride parade, perhaps, if there were one, but only with mates, to be advocating for that kind of thing. But using the children as an excuse, children shouldn't be seeing bare asses, which is where my line would be. Cover your butt. How hard is that, Kinksters? Yeah. Wear briefs instead of a jock and you're fine.
And I think, I think this is the thing that I probably want to stress is that I think there's a way to show kink, but I think there's also a way to be respectful. And I think that whilst I am fully in the mindset of pride is a protest and we have always been the community that is pushing the boundaries, we are there being our authentic selves and we're showing up as ourselves, we also need to cater slightly towards the world around us so that they receive it well. Yeah. Because I think this is also the challenge is if we go at 110%, we're just going to get met back with disagreement and people that don't agree with what we're doing.
It's like we're telling them what to do and they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. If you want to have an effective way of sending a message, it needs to be in some way digestible. I think that, like, obviously for me, this is kind of a great way to show it because I am in full kink, I'm in full rubber, which shows off exactly who I am and who I am as a person. But I haven't tried to, as you said, like bare my arse or put anything on show in that sense. So hopefully it feels a bit more respectable for people who are watching it. I think everyone has their own way of doing that. And also I really want to stress how we need to remember what the parade is there for. I have heard some people as well talking about this debate online, how if families don't want to see it, then don't come, because that's kind of the point of the Pride Parade in its authentic self, is we are here to march, we're here to send a message, and we're here to promote. We're here
to take up space that you might not necessarily want us to take up.
So I don't know if there's a clear answer on this. That's my personal take, is that I think it's a more effective way if we can give them a message that they can actually take on and appreciate in a way that they'll feel more comfortable with. So I'm fully supportive of wearing lots and lots of gear and kink and fetish and leather and pup or whatever it is that you're enjoying. I just think if we can remove some of those more slightly things where maybe somebody's got a cock ring on show or stuff like that, then it just means that it helps us to send the message more effectively.
And this isn't like at a Folsom Street Fair where it's closed access and you can wear what you want. That's another space that's been that children aren't allowed in that space. Pride is a public thing, and we do want to. We're queer, but also, people are just out for lunch. So there is that line to walk, which is the difficulty of it. I do think it's just a matter of being decent. Like, for instance, when I see some people when they come into the pub after they've been cycling and they're in their lycras, I'm like, I won't wear that to the pub. It's none of my business. Yeah. So I'll serve you your drink. It's not, it's just that kind of, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
And just because, like, you're right as a human, and especially as an Englishman, is to sneer and judge, but you don't have to act on it. Yeah. You can think what you like, but you don't have to do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think is like we've spoken a bit about like Manchester Pride, but I also want to flag like the variance in prides across the world as well, because I've been to Berlin Pride and the parade there was a lot more on show. I'll tell you that. I really loved it because I think like Berlin is a very liberal city. Like you see people just being their authentic selves, guys who are fully naked walking down the streets, and like in there it feels a lot more just acceptable. And I think we have to understand that a lot of this is driven by societal perceptions as well. So depending on where you're living, where you're coming from, as you said, small towns versus big cities even, there will be differences in how people take things on.
Like in a lot of Latin and African cultures, women just walk around bare-chested.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do.
Because it's
that would make me go, oh dear.
Yeah.
I'd clutch my pearls, but it's none of my business.
Yeah. And it's all of these societal perceptions and rules that we've put in place that have sort of dictated what's okay and what's not okay. It goes back to the corporations, as you said. Like, we know that over time, more companies have started to support the Pride Parade, who've walked in the Pride Parade, and I'm supportive of that as long as they are actually supporting and they're not just rainbow washing, but they're actually doing things to support the community outside of Pride. That's really important. And there are many brands that do a really good job.
One thing I will say, I've worked for Sainsbury's, and they were very good on the gay rights thing. They offer pins round for Pride. They say, get involved, we're sending a contingent to Leeds Pride kind of thing. Oops, I've just accidentally located myself in West Yorkshire. They'll find me. But that's the way of doing it properly. Like, the Pride merch goes to Pride charity, that money, and it's all done very openly and honestly. It's not, corporate. It feels very real.
Yeah.
Which is a good way of supporting something like that.
Yeah. Do you remember the M&S sandwich debacle that happened?
I remember that it looked horrible.
It was, they had an LGBT sandwich. I just thought it was hilarious because they basically changed all the letters of the LGBT into like lettuce. Guac, bacon and tomato. And I just remember that it went off on social media. Everyone was like, what on earth are you doing? You've completely missed the point as to what Pride is about by basically just erasing the entire community for a couple of vegetables. So I thought that was hilarious. But that's like an example of bad approach to it. I think that it's really important.
It's about being sincere.
Yeah, it's about understanding what you're doing it for and why you're doing it. But kind of going back to the point of like the corporations have kind of stepped in. And I also think that because of that, they want us to make things more digestible
palatable.
And mainstream. Yeah, palatable is a great word for it. So I think that's what's had the impact and why it's become more of a discussion, because I think beforehand we knew that the kink communities were the ones who were leading in these spaces alongside trans people, alongside drag queens. Like, it tends to be the communities in the LGBT community that have been driving a lot of this progress that we've seen. We've, for example, Dykes on Bikes, they actually started the San Francisco Pride Parade. It actually started as an event for them, and it's since expanded and they've renamed it to San Francisco Pride. So that's a great example of how the kink community has actually been at the forefront as well.
And I do think it's important, like, now that gay marriage is legal and that for the most part you can be gay in this country and there's no real drama. There's occasional arsehole, but no one gives a shit. It's why it's important that Pride not forget what it's about, and we don't forget our trans brothers and sisters and MBs, and we don't forget the kinksters who are just trying to live their lives authentically.
Yeah.
It's not about, we haven't won. It's not over. And even if we've won here, we haven't won there.
Exactly.
There's a lot of work still to be done. And that's where the conflict comes from me. And it's why I feel dodgy about celebrating. Because, one, I've already won. And I've done nothing for it. The rights were won. It was 2010 when gay marriage came through. 2011, I couldn't vote. I couldn't do anything about that. The Tories did it. Christ, who'd think of that? And then I've never felt the need to fight, but then there are places where the fight is still ongoing, so I would feel gross, personally, getting too involved with it. I mean, this is what I felt previously. If I were going with a group of friends, it'd be a different issue. But I was never going to go to one on my own because I could never justify it to myself. If I'm going to spot a friend or I'm going to spot kink, potentially. Yeah. But it's like wanting to. There's people on Instagram who want to say LGBT without the T, and I just want to throw things.
Yeah, we don't come separately.
Like it's always about the marginalised people. That's what Pride is, and like people of colour in Pride, so important because they often get marginalised, especially in this country. Because no matter what people tell you, we're still predominantly white in England, and that you just get white people talking about stuff all the time, and often they don't have a clue what they're talking about. So we need to remember these things, and it's really important to not just get swept up in the good times because they're not good for everyone all the time.
Yeah, and definitely that's exactly why I have this suit. So for anyone listening who's not watching the video, I'm in my trans rubber suit, which is pink, blue, and white, which are the colours of the trans flag. And although I am not trans, I've felt it really important that I have something in this collection of rubber that I have, which kind of shows my solidarity. I wore it in the parade because I think it's an important topic that we need to be speaking more about. And that's kind of just one of my ways of expressing how I aim to support the community. I think it's as important as well that I check myself and what I'm doing to support the trans community outside of the parade too. Just like I said for the corporations, I think it's also on individuals to then go away and say, okay, are you supporting charities like Mermaids, which is focused on trans rights and trans support?
I like that name. That's a good name for a trans charity.
It's great, yeah, and I love the work that they do. So making sure that I'm supporting what they're doing, making sure I'm showing up when there are opportunities to show my allyship as well. And I also do a lot of work in my day-to-day job on making sure that I'm supporting the trans community too. So
what is it? Inclusion officer? Inclusivity officer?
Yeah, inclusion. Making sure everybody feels included. So.
Yeah, the kind of job that would get an eye roll from me like yesterday. But it's an important job, but it's mad that we have to have that job is the thing of it, that we still have to convince people that everyone deserves a shot.
Yeah. And I've always said I wish that I didn't, like, basically my goal is to not have a job.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have a job, it means that the world's inclusive. So that's where we want to get to. Romeo.
Yes.
Should young people have exposure to kink? I think that's an important question.
I mean, as much as they should have exposure to sexuality and perfume adverts, chocolate adverts, car adverts, these are all reasonably sexualized and, passionate. And kids are either oblivious to it or waking up to it when they get to that age. And I think you don't notice it until later. Like, we've spoken about our kink awakenings and stuff, but I didn't recognise Sleeping Beauty, where Prince Philip gets tied up. I didn't realise that had awoken something in me until many years later. The Matrix, I was watching that, and the leather and the rubber and that didn't do anything for me because I was a bit young. I was enjoying the show, but I was a bit young to associate that with anything sexual. So the minute a kid starts being interested in that kind of thing is the minute they're no longer a king and becoming an adolescent and developing their sexuality, because I don't think they see it until they see it. Obviously, I don't know. I don't have any kids myself, and it's a very difficult topic, and I can understand the fear parents have with their children being exposed to this kind of thing, especially given, the current climate regarding a certain Mr. Epstein and his files. There's an awful lot of scary things out there, and I can see why you'd want to shut it down to protect your kids, but then putting them in a bubble can be more dangerous. And it's it's such an hard topic. I understand why people get so upset about it. Yeah.
And it's a really important point that I don't know if there's a right answer because, we're not parents. So I don't know if you should shelter your kids from this until they're older, or if you should give them that awareness and education so that they're prepared for when they do go into the big wide world and they experience it. And I don't think there's a right answer because otherwise there'd be a book on parenting that everybody would follow. So we don't know if what's right and what's wrong. Personally, I think having some level of awareness is important. I think it's just the same as if you're giving your kids education around just sex in general and making sure they're prepared and know how to have safe sex and how they need to be in those environments, because that in itself, I feel like is just crucial information. So I feel like kink as a subset of that is just as important to know that this exists, because it's also going to happen at some point. It's inevitable that you will see it somewhere, as you said, in the media, in the bedroom, in a club,
even
on a night out.
Just The Incredibles. There's a bit where Mr. Incredible is being shot with goo balls that expand.
Love it.
And yeah, but that's nothing until you think, oh, that's something.
Yeah.
But like, you don't
Yeah,
see it.
as a kid, didn't even think twice.
No.
And I think that's the thing as well. You see these kids at the Pride Parade, they're not looking at me thinking, oh, that's
You're a
very
character.
sexual.
No,
Because they're
colourful.
children. Like, they're looking, yeah, they see the bright colours, they see people having a great time, people feeling comfortable in who they are. And that's very much what we try and present as a community walking in the parade, is very much we are a community, we are here for each other, everybody's welcome, anybody that's interested or wants to learn more. So that obviously younger people, they're not going to be part of that community just yet. But when they get older and they realize, oh, I've seen that before, there's a really nice community that I could learn from and explore, then that's when they're ready to do so. So I think
as well, in this country, we seem to have landed quite well on sex education amongst children. And since they started a very good sex education policy, teenage pregnancy has dropped. Obviously not a problem in the gay world, but obviously there's, diseases that can be transmitted. And if you don't teach kids this, they will just do it anyway, and they'll do it badly.
Yeah.
Because you can try and keep your kids from swearing, but my parents didn't teach me any swear words, but I learnt them from school. Yeah. Because you just do, and you learn these things. And one guy once told me that a dildo for a man is called a bilbo because it goes up your butt. And I believed that for 2 years because I didn't know.
I love the philosophy. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's what I'm going to call it from now on.
But like the thing is, kids do learn this stuff, and like parents get to curate as much as they want. I'm not telling anyone how to parent their kids, but you've got to be aware that what you're not teaching them, if you don't give them the tools to interpret and analyze this information properly, they're going to get misled, intentionally or not, and they're going to end up in a mess. Yeah. And like, I just think that being puritanical about it and very repressive it does no one any good. It's better to be open. Yeah. And then they can shut you down and say, I don't need to know about this, Mum, it's all right. Yeah. And but I think having kids don't notice, and as they're growing up, they need some help, figuring it out.
Would you rather not as well make sure that as a parent you're in control of the narrative when it happens? Because it's going to happen, as you said, they're going to learn about it from someone, whether it's another kid or in the bigger, wider world at some point. And surely as a parent you want to make sure that they're ready to hear from your perspective, because I think it is important that parents obviously teach their kids from their perspective. That's you need to have confidence in yourself as a parent.
Even more so with personal screens everywhere. Yeah. Like the media will teach them this stuff if you don't, because there's adult jokes in The Simpsons, like that you don't get when you're a kid, but you get when you're an adult, and that's everywhere. And if you're not, like, even in Doctor Who, there's some jokes that you're like, Christ, I didn't notice that when I was 8, because you don't when you're a kid. So I don't think you can. Like, I'm not saying take your kids to a sex club.
That's not insane. What we're saying, no.
But I'm saying that the more of an idea of the world they have, the better they will be the better equipped they will be when they get into that world.
I also want to stress as well, I'm not sure if it's the same from your experience, but obviously I'm gay. Surprise. My parents, not gay. Surprise. But obviously I think I really appreciate this from my mum in particular, is she recognised that when I came out, she was not in the place to be talking about gay sex. It's not something that she's experienced, obviously. So I appreciate that she introduced me to a gay community near where I grew up, who were able to give me that education to prepare me for the world. And whilst I know, like, obviously it's cringy talking about like sex and things like this with people and like learning more about it, it's so crucial, because that's then helped me to make sure that I navigate the world safely. Because if I hadn't have had that openness and honesty from my parents and also this community that I was part of, I might have met up with someone and had a terrible experience. So I think it's so vital that we also accept when we don't know things. And if you aren't a kinky parent, then either educate yourself, or maybe you can connect with someone that is kinky. And I'm sure a lot of people who are kinky aren't afraid to talk to you about it. And like I'm happy to be open and honest about it if anyone's got any questions or queries, or just wants to learn more about sort of the way that the world of wonderful kink works.
Yeah. My parents, a bit more repressed than that. We don't really talk about my sex life or my gay life, especially not my rubber life. My mum knows about it, but I haven't told my dad because I can't be bothered with that. That's a lot of work. But it can be. But there's like, my mum didn't have any idea has to deal with a gay child. I don't know if her and my sister had a talk about being a woman and sexuality, but my dad and I never had that conversation because I was gay. And he was a northern man of a certain era. It took him a minute to catch up and get on board. So it was a bit of a I wasn't cast out. They didn't throw me out or anything, but I was kind of like lost at sea. And the information I had was from straight people at school telling me what a bilbo is and the internet. To be fair, Queer as Folk. Did you ever watch Queer as Folk?
Yes, I did. Not till quite a lot later, to be fair.
No, I watched it on 4OD as it was back then, all four.
Yeah. Versus the UK or the US?
UK. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, UK is superior.
In almost every way.
It's a shame
any
because
UK content that goes across the pond gets ruined.
The UK was it like
one season and 2 specials?
Yeah, whereas the US one forever.
Yeah, well,
there's a lot of that. But yeah, I just wish we'd got more of it.
I hated that kid, you know.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, like this whole other, going off on a tangent, but watching Queer as Folk to then watching newer shows like Cucumber, for example, I think that's a much more updated
same
view
guy
of
that
the
was
gay community.
Davis.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And even It's a Sin, looking back at the 80s, I think it's interesting to see how that media has evolved, because I think whilst obviously Queer as Folk for a lot of gay men in particular was kind of this amazing thing to see on their media, it's also not the best representation at times. So I think that it's interesting to see how over time things have evolved, and there's now more up-to-date media that we can utilise to educate people.
One of the best bits of gay media that I've done, continuing this tangent, you know, Skins?
Yes.
You know, season 1?
Yeah.
So there's Maxie, who's the gay kid, and he's just living his gay life. And then there's Tony, the sociopath. And Tony decides to shit his girlfriend with Maxie to try it out. Oh, no, and then he sucks Maxie's dick, and then Maxie goes, oh, something you're not good at. And he just walks away and leaves this straight guy like, what? You didn't like that? And I was like, that feels very, like, obviously it's heightened, it's Skins. Watch it, but it will break your mind. But that, to me, felt like a really honest interaction, more so than Queer as Folk. And I was like, that's quite funny. Yeah. And that is a gay man reclaiming his power, because he did have a bit of crush on Tony, and then he gave shit head, and he was over it. And I was just like, yeah, go on, man. But yeah.
Romeo, I guess we've spoken a lot today about a lot. We've gone off on a lot of different tangents, but that's it, to be expected. I'm curious, in summary, do you think that... Who do you think is responsible for knowing the lines of where kink fits into Pride?
God? I don't know.
Jesus?
It's hard work. It's got to be... Like, it comes down to just being decent. Like, you've got to be a decent person, both in behaviour and in expression. Like, there's no harm in showing up in what you want to show up in, dressing how you like. You know, like I said, metalheads and rockers, and then, you know, you've got your chino-wearing wankers. No offence to those.
Chino-wearing wankers.
Yeah, that was very much my teenage years. Everyone was a chino hipster.
Oh, really? When growing up, I was always in skinny jeans.
Yeah, the skinny jeans.
I loved skinny jeans, and I vowed to myself never to wear chinos, and then I got to like 25, and that's mostly what I wear.
Yeah, well...
But I've moved on to wide leg trousers now.
I don't care. Because you can wear what you want.
Yeah.
And as long as you are decent, and like, as long as the main bits are covered, you can wear anything as tight as you like. Because, like, the way I do it is, if men are happy sexualizing women in that way, then gay men can do it too. You know, because AJ, whatever her name is, presented Big Brother in the latest catsuit. So, yeah. And Kim Kardashian. It's okay for women to do it. They can walk down the street in latex because we love staring at women. But if a man does it, oh, no.
I mean, I'd love to see a guy in a latex suit at, like, the Met Gala or the Oscars.
Well, they're pushing it, and like Sam Smith.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was a big moment at the Brits. So yeah. I really, really appreciate Sam for doing that. And I think this is the perfect message to send away, is we know that this exists and you cannot get away from kink in the world. I think most people are going to experience, not everybody, I think some people will live their lives not seeing it, which would be quite rare to see that. But I think in some way, shape or form, whether it's media or real life, on your day-to-day, where you live, something's going to pop up. And you want your kids in particular to be prepared for when that happens, so they are educated in the right way. And I think that's what, for me, Pride is really all about, is first and foremost, it is a protest. It always has been a protest, and it's us pushing the boundaries as to what society deems acceptable, so that we ensure we have a space for our communities and we make sure that we fit in. But also, I think it's on our responsibility to educate people outside of the community as well, whether that be parents, families, anyone like that, young people as well. It's just as important to make sure we show them what we are as a community and what we stand for, so that they are aware as to why we exist and what we're here for. So I would encourage the families to come to Pride, because it's so important that you come along and you enjoy it and you see just how wonderful this community is. But also there's a responsibility on the kink community to make sure that we do it in a way that is accessible.
Yeah, we don't want to be alienating people.
Yes, and I think maybe that's the word that I've been looking for this whole episode, is accessible kink. It's something that is easily accessible to everyone. It makes sure everyone feels comfortable, feels safe in that space. I fully think that wearing a full latex catsuit is accessible, because nothing is on show. I'm just in as much clothing as the next person. The difference is, if I think things are on show, I think that's a bit more of a challenge. So I think we just need to make sure we're being mindful about how we're showing off this kink, and everybody will have their own take. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me, but I think that just having that mindfulness about how we're presenting this community to make sure that everyone can see what we stand for, which is about acceptance, love, respect.
Just had another thought. So I am going to have to say this. So kink has been around for ages. Like, it's not a new thing. It might be new to you, but again, educate yourself. Because sadism comes from the Marquis de Sade, who was a French sadist who abused people for his own enjoyment. Maybe for their enjoyment too. I'm unclear on the details of it. But and we know for a fact that the blow-up doll fetish, as that rose, the statue fetish died a death, because now they had something inanimate they could take home. So no one were wanking off on statues anymore, because they could do it in their own home. And that statue fetish had been around for hundreds of years. And gay people are around forever. Just because it's not been part of your world, and just because you haven't been told about them, it doesn't mean they're not there, and it doesn't mean it's wrong. And I think that's something that we need to be clear about. Like, you don't have to want it for yourself or the people you love, but it's also, you can also not do anything about it. So just get on board or get out of the way.
Great message. Get on board and get out of the way. Let us do our thing.
We're basically
We're
great.
just having fun.
Exactly.
That's what we're here for. We're having fun. We're having a good time. That's what Pride is about. Hopefully I'll see lots of people there at Manchester Pride who are listening today. Make sure you come say hi. I'm sure I'll be walking with all the rubber men again this year. So
Wonderful. Right, I am Rubber Romeo on Instagram. The pod is rubberroom.media on Instagram.
My tag is Rubber Cable, so make sure you come check me out. Drop me a message. Always there to chat. A final shout out to today's episode sponsor, Stretch Latex. Make sure you go and check them out and all their wonderful range of jocks, harnesses, and accessories. And with that, thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye.